And so, you know, in conclusion, fix Cuyahoga County, fix the state of Ohio, and then we leverage the assets. Just a few minutes about the assets. Cleveland Clinic. I've been treated there. My eyes, okay? I've been treated there. That place, it is just beyond awesome. University Hospital and Case Western. Are you kidding me? That's what I call a trifecta. The medical mart designed to encourage the development of spin-offs from this whole health area. Now that could be our great, great future, David Morgenthau. That could be, you know, the development of medical devices. Martin Harris taking Cleveland Clinic to Dubai. He spends more time in Dubai than he spends in Cleveland. And he's spreading the gospel of the Cleveland Clinic, which President Obama praised for you know, very futuristic thinking about how we handle health care. You take University Hospital, you take the Cleveland Clinic in Case, if we can't score a touchdown, that's not like being able to score on the 1 yard line. And the medical mart is nothing but a supplement to make that go. And I heard about the bioenterprise operation designed to look at small companies and help them to develop the devices, the kind of personalized medicine, yeah. Health and biotechnology and nanotechnology, all of these things offer us a great opportunity up here in Cleveland. But let's not forget, guys, let's not forget we got to work to keep the jobs that are here. It's not just about the next series of jobs, it's about what we can do to keep the jobs that are currently here and give them the aid and the comfort and the cooperation that we all need to keep them here. Whether it's job training, whether it's access to the technology, the R&D of our schools, whatever it takes. And let's help them to drive workers up the value chain so we don't get commoditized out of existence. Companies that make things, Sherwin-Williams, you know, we think it's, at one time I told a guy who owned a paint company, I said, there's nothing more boring than watching paint dry. He looked at me, he said, I think it's pretty exciting, John, to watch paint dry. You know, so I'm in Mexico with my family on vacation, and I'm in this one-horse town, and I look, guess what I see? Sherwin-Williams, okay? It's global, it's coatings, it's green, and Chris Connor, wow. Wow, what an awesome CEO. Just honored by Harvard. I was here for that. Sherwin-Williams is fantastic. Timken, which is just down the road. You know, roller bearings, advanced materials. I went to Parker Hannifin. They were one of my clients, went in to see them. I was blown away by what I saw at Parker Hannifin. I mean, whether it's hydraulics for wind turbines, which is about advanced materials, alternative energy, process controls for semiconductor and medical applications. Never been to Lubrizol, but I'm going to go. Specialty lubricants, metalworking fluids, personal care and over-the-counter pharmaceutical products. Nordson, systems to apply adhesives and coatings to semiconductor packages and circuit boards. I'm not going to leave out KeyCorp. Thank God KeyCorp is here. People have been predicting their demise for years, and they stand tall. Literally and figuratively. I looked at their building outside of my hotel the other day. And let's not forget one of our real heroes here. It's easy to forget about a guy sometimes when we don't realize how much he's done because he's been around so long. But how about a round of applause for David Morgenthaler, one of the pioneers of venture capital in our country, okay? So folks, I got to give you some time for questions. And look, I think we can get it back together again. But if we can't find the ways to innovate and change the model, and to work cooperatively all over the state, and to be able to leverage our assets, I think we have a problem. I think we'll continue to drift in what I call the death spiral. But if we're able to do these things, we'll get on the map again. Cleveland will be on the map again. You know, I was telling Mal Mixon, who's like a brother to me, I said, you know, coming from Pittsburgh and making those trips up here with my mom and my dad, if I could just have something to do with making Cleveland a better place, that's worth it. And that's really what's motivating me in this whole thing. So together, we can get it done. We'll have an election. It'll be partisan. We'll get through it. We don't have time for that anymore. It's shoulder to the wheel, climb the mountain. We know where we want to go, and we'll get there, and we'll make this state and this town far better, and it'll be for the betterment of our families, our communities, our state, and maybe even a good example for our country. Thank you.
I'll have you back up in a minute.
Oh, okay. I have to sit down.
You do whatever you want.
Maestro?
Thanks, John. Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we're listening to Congressman John Kasich. We'll return to John in just a minute for our traditional City Club questions. We encourage you now to formulate questions and remind you that your questions should be brief and to the point. I haven't been successful at that all year, but that's okay. We welcome all of you here and those listening to WCPN 90.3 FM, WCLV, WTAM, or one of the many radio stations across this country that broadcast us. Radio broadcasts of the City Club are made possible through the generous support of Case Western Reserve University. Our television broadcast partners are WVIZ, PBS Idea Stream, and Time Warner Cable. Television broadcasts are supported by National City and Cleveland State University. Our closed captioning is supported by Nordson Corporation. Our live webcasts are supported by the University of Akron. Now we'd like to return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphones today are Associate Director of Development, Marcella Brown, and PR and Programs Manager, Carrie Miller. John, would you come back for the first question?
Hey, before I take the first question, Peggy Fisher's with us today. She runs a not-for-profit in diversity up here, and I met her. I said, you seem like an awfully nice lady. I like you right off the bat, and if I win, we'll work together. How about a round of applause for Lee Fisher's wife? Okay. That means you make sure these questions are easy. Okay.
Congressman Kasich, you spoke about one of the negatives for getting business to prosper and come to Ohio was the excess of regulations. And certainly for a number of years, the Republican Party has stood for a mantra of get the government off our backs, which is probably the same thing that you have said. And my question is, to what extent do you think that lack of regulations and lack of enforcement of regulations played an important part in the economic crisis that we have today, particularly from your experience in the securities business with Lehman Brothers? You think there should have been some real tough regulations on hedge funds, on derivatives, and what would be your suggestion about more regulations in that area?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. First of all, the governor and his people have been accusing me of bankrupting Lehman Brothers. I ran a two-man office out of Columbus, Ohio. That's like blaming a car dealer in Parma for the collapse of General Motors. It's just a joke. But sir, let me tell you, I took a drubbing up there at Lehman. I lost stock options. I lost restricted shares that I couldn't cash. It was a painful experience to watch it collapse. And I'll tell you why I think it collapsed. I think there was an awful lot of greed, and I think there were people that weren't minding the store. What I think that whole system needs to be, you make a good point, because we don't want to deregulate everything. But I'm saying that when you're in hassling some local baker because he didn't get a permit and you fine him 10 times what the value of the permit is, so you drive him out of Ohio, that's just stupid. That's not common sense. But when you're talking about things like hedge funds and these derivatives, these products that really operate like insurance, where the companies, the credit default swaps, where they didn't have any reserves, it was ridiculous. Of course you have to have regulation in there because you need transparency. So people have to be able to know what it is they're buying and where we're heading. And I think the lack of that kind of regulation did not serve us well. But I will tell you that the implementation of Sarbanes-Oxley, which has driven up the cost of public companies, in China they don't have a lot of Sarbanes-Oxleys over there, by the way. So some regulation you absolutely need. And I'll bet you and I could sit down and figure out a whole lot of what the common sense regulations ought to be. It ought to be to protect the public interest, but also not to operate where we're sort of working for the bureaucrats. But in the financial community,